Yo, what's up, everybody? Hope everyone had a nice holiday weekend. Back to the grind. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into it because a lot of news, lots of news. This is crazy. So let me share my screen. Entire window. Boom. Let's go. Let go. All right, so Tesla stock down 6.5% basically. Man, this is this is crazy. So we closed on Friday. I mean Thursday at 3:15, and so we're basically down like $20, man, a little over $20 coming into the pre-market. If you haven't heard, there was a lot of news. Obviously, the bill, big beautiful bill passed and was signed into law, and Elon had a lot to say about that and made the decision to create a new political party called the um, America Party, something like that. Yeah, it's crazy. So, oh man, I really don't. I'm really, I really don't like. I really haven't. I don't want to say like. I haven't become as comfortable um, scalping towards the downside and because when the stock is trending upward on the higher time frames, uh, it becomes difficult because a reversal could come and it can come sharply. So that's I haven't really gotten comfortable doing that. It's on the other side, on the opposite end, you it's easier to scalp when one you have higher time frame confirmation that the trend is likely going to continue upward, and then secondly, that's the default for what the market wants to do. So it's it's easier to have a bias toward that side than it is toward the downside, in my view, from my point of view. So let's take a look at news that could impact the market today. So we do have red folder news coming in at 11:30 p.m. Oh, we'll be done by then. So no red folder news coming into the market open today or during the session. So we'll see how the red folder news affects the market coming going into the pre-market tomorrow. So let's take a look at any recent news that could potentially affect Tesla or the overall market. Oh, let's take a look at this one. This seems interesting. Stocks fall pre-bail. So is it not just Tesla? Let's see. The benchmark U.S. stock measures were tracking in the red before the opening bell Monday as investors assess President Donald Trump's. Because remember now, we y'all know the tariffs expired in 2 days. So um, yeah, there might be a lot of selling today potentially based on that. So we'll see. Let's see. President Donald Trump threat of additional tariffs on countries that align with the BRICS bloc. I don't know what this is. So I'll have to look into that. The S&P declined 0.3%. The Dow slipped 1.1, Nasdaq zero point 0.4. The index finished Thursday trading session higher, while U.S. markets were closed Friday for the Independence holiday. Trump warned on Sunday that any country aligning itself with the policies of BRICS and international or intergovernmental organization, including Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, will be subject to additional. Oh man, so So it looks like the talks may not be going as smooth as they had mentioned, because remember it last I heard is China had came to the table and the talks were going well. Both both sides had representatives meet in an undisclosed location and reported that that they were nearing a deal. So it looks like will be subject to addition. It looks like that's not the case. So there will be no exceptions to this policy, Trump said in social media posts on Truth Social. Leaders of the bloc at the summit in Brazil recently said in a statement that rising tariffs pose a threat to global trade. Reuters reported. Man, so they're gelling together. Oh, we're gonna have to see how that unfolds. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick reportedly said Sunday that the Trump administration's reciprocal tariffs are set to come into effect on August 1 instead of the previously disclosed. Okay, so they deferred it to August 1. Tariffs for countries that have not reached an agreement with the Trump administration will return to the levels announced at the beginning of April. Huh. So on August 1st, the tariffs will take effect. Treasury yields, blah, blah, blah. With no economic report scheduled for Monday, investors will be looking ahead to the release of minutes of the Federal Reserve's last policy session later in the week for clues on the central bank's monetary policy. Um, okay, so we'll keep an eye on this as well. And let's see, the U.S. economy added. Yeah, they're definitely going to wait. Tesla shares dropped 6.9% pre-bill. Dang, it went as high as almost 7%. Following Chief Executive Elon Musk's announcement over the weekend that he'll be launching a new political party in the U.S., the move is likely to raise investor concerns about his potential impact on the vehicle maker. EV, it was done. Tech down 1%. Rocket Lab gained 4.1%, jumped 13% after the company agreed to be acquired by French technology and consulting firm Capgemini for 3+ billion. West Texas. Okay, so let's check. Trade deadlines come and go. Probably just gonna say they delayed it. Dang, that's crazy. So we only got two so far, but the deadline may end up whooshing by for markets. Treasury Secretary suggested Sunday that the real cutoff might be August 1st. Oh man. Okay, so nothing much there. I don't see anything else. Tesla likely to face investor concerns after this. Yep. Well, they saying that he launched it, but from what I saw, he just said that he will, but haven't launched it yet. Um, Announcement that he is. Yeah, see, I hate the way clickbait when it comes to bankrupting market. Yeah, so anyway, I don't see any other news that oh oops. 2 hours, US stock, Tesla slides as most American party. Yeah, it is the America Party. Tesla stocks. Da, da, da. I don't know. I feel like, yeah, from my point of view, I feel like Elon could have done this secretly, like, not necessarily voice this verbally. I feel like he could have just did it, without actually saying anything about it. To me, one of the something I read in The Art of War, it's like you don't need to tell your enemies what you're going to do, because in some cases, or maybe many cases, you telling them what you're going to do before you actually do it, or have acquired the power to do it, could give them an opportunity to defend against that that attack. So basically, if it's better to catch your enemies off guard, right? If that's the case. So I don't see any, I don't see a, I don't see a reason why he would. I don't know, but I'm not Elon. I'm not in his head, so I don't know exactly what he's seeing. But to me, if you have the power, it's just my own point of view. If you have the power, you just do it. You don't say anything. There's no need. It's you speak through your actions, the same way wisdom does, right? Wisdom speaks through actions, right? Um, and it'll be proven correct by the outcome, right? So, and that way, that's how I see things. It's like people could come against me, they could say this or that, da 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 da. I'm not going to spend time, telling them what I'm going to do, if this, that, and the third. It's basically like, for this, this is as far as I'll take it. I'll say, look, enough is enough. All right, so I'm asking you to cease and desist with the nonsense. All right. No bars intended. Um, and that's it. I'm keeping it like that. If they decide to proceed, then they'll just have to see, be willing to, suffer whatever potential consequences could come as a result of their decisions. If I have the power, if I'm the richest man in America, I don't really need to say anything. I'll let you know. You'll know, because that's what I want you to be concerned about, like, having your mind go crazy about, like, I don't know what he might do, and that's the key, the element of surprise. Is like, you don't know what I might do. So it's best you stay quiet. So, but if you keep talking, that's what I said. Like, I would never ever say to, like, if my enemy's telling me what they're gonna do, I'm like, look, more power to you. You know what I'm saying? You gotta do what you feel is best. And then I'm keeping it deuces. You know what I mean? So that's it. But I would never ever tell you what I'm going to do. You just gonna see it. And that's the thing. Like, you already, by the time I've acted on any or made but by the time I've acted on, some my decisions, right, my thoughts or whatever, it's it's already been something that I've already discussed with you, over and over and over again. If by the time you see me act, if my actions catch you by surprise, it's because you weren't listening or paying attention. That's the thing. Like, you weren't listening, you weren't paying attention, and so my actions caught you by surprise. And so for me, it's not like, and people will act like shocked and surprised, right? Many might be shocked and surprised because, again, they weren't paying attention. They're like, but why? What, like, what happened? Why? What's going on? It's like, listen, I'm not about to keep, saying, repeating myself over and over and over again. I said what I said. It was your choice to, heed and or not. So if I was Elon, I just wouldn't say anything. I just act, do what you're gonna do, and leave it at that, and let the chips fall where they may. But meanwhile, I don't see anything else coming into the market today. Tesla shares decline pre-bail. Da da da. Shares die pre-market. Rouse investors. Elon Musk is running out of road in China. Let's check this one out. In the US, he's also facing trouble in his other most important market, China, for Tesla was the hottest car on the Chinese road, and Musk was the toast of Beijing. Government officials showered the company with incentives, part of a concerted strategy. Yeah, but they're going to come in and they're going to look at the technology. China's known for that. They're definitely going to take a look under the hood and try to replicate that technology because it's China. You know, you got to give it up. Like, imagine if America was truly united. I mean, think about what that would look like if America was truly united. Therefore, wasn't any, racism or craziness going on. All we were focused on is looking at how to advance the human race. Okay, how to make conditions better for the American people, citizens, and so forth, and focus on solving those problems. We could solve many more problems more effectively uh, and quickly than at the rate at which it's going today because there's so much division. There's we stand on opposite sides of different issues, which I don't see the reason why we need to stand on a side because for the most part, when you look at any issue, there's a limited understanding or degree of knowledge of that issue. And so to me, the goal is to learn as much as we can about this thing and see what the best, come up with solutions or options that is potentially going to solve the problem. And we scrutinize every idea. We scrutinize every idea so that only the best solutions rise to the top, right? Pressure creates diamonds. Heat removes impurities from precious metals like gold and so forth. So, same thing, right? We apply pressure, we apply heat via scrutiny to all the ideas presented, and so that the best rise to the tops. There's no need to take sides. It's why are you for this? It's not a matter of being for, it's a matter of presenting pros and cons. Okay, let's look at this. And so we're not standing on a side, we're just standing right there in the middle, objectively observing or scrutinizing all ideas and looking for the best solution possible. And that's an interesting thing. I don't really understand why, other than there's a lack of understanding or lack of, yeah, just a lack of understanding overall by the people involved. It's just like, why do you take up sides? Why do you, and then like other also selfishness, right? Like so self-interest. And I think that is part of the problem. But that's why you have to, look at these things objectively. Like, I take with a grain of salt anything that, you know, Elon might say or Trump might say because they have other interests. It's not necessarily like people like me that they have in mind. They have their own interests, and and they have extreme interests. So they might lean really, really heavy on certain issues. And to me, I don't really see a point in doing that. I do see the point in prioritizing issues, right? Which ones are the most important? Not what we feel or believe is the most important, but based on data driven. We make data driven decisions. So we collect the data first and let the data help us better understand or guide us to make the, decisions that are necessary. So that to me is wise. That's just wisdom. We use wisdom, knowledge, understanding you know, to navigate these issues, and we could solve them much more quickly. There's plenty, right? There's plenty. I'm just saying, like, if you can imagine, that's what we'd be looking at, right? Imagine what that type of world would be, how that would be. So yeah, in terms of China, like yeah, of course. Let's see. It says Chinese consumers say Tesla's increasingly feel tired and out of touch with local tastes. Really? top China design EVs nowadays come with features that aren't normally found in Tesla, such as multiple big screens to watch films and play games, refrigerators to keep drinks cold, and in-car cameras for selfies. Yo, China's really on the move, which makes BYD, which makes both EVs and batteries, and battery giant Contemporary, and recently said they each had developed new technologies that allow users to charge cars in just 5 minutes. Wow. Oh, they have voiced the staff with Tesla staff. They have voiced this concern, but the warnings often drew sluggish responses. Yeah, probably because they're shifting away from just focusing on elect EV vehicles, so or EVs. The frustrations have built as Chinese salespeople feel more pressure to hit targets without the sexiest cars to sell. You know what would be interesting is to take a look to see what are the actual sales. So I'll take a look into this because if the sales aren't hitting what let's say if it amounts to like I don't know, like probably not even coming close to the numbers that Tesla's doing overall, right? So maybe we'd have to see like what the percentage is to just your to Tesla's vehicles so versus Tesla sales. So I'd be interested to know and see maybe that's probably why they're not like because maybe they're trying to see if there's a market and they're okay with competition moving into that because the thing with technology in these types of vehicles is you gotta I mean we anybody who knows like if you buy a used vehicle or have ever bought a used vehicle it is expensive to replace those parts. So yeah, you get to enjoy those things if when the vehicle is brand new. But once the warranty expires, it's a wrap. Those things become really expensive to repair. And so like they become outdated very, very quickly, very, very quickly. And that's the thing. Like you look at your luxury vehicles here in the US, like it's only meant to be enjoyed for the new buyers. Like the first, first fresh off the lot. Buyers are buying those vehicles fresh off the lot, not used. Um, because they don't last and they become really expensive to replace. So it's just like Tesla's probably looking at that like, man, we don't really want that headache. And what is that going to cost us overall? And what is the most popular feature we can add that makes sense? You know, because I don't know, like, yeah, that's a big thing. I was just watching this video on that exact issue with luxury vehicles here in the US. And these luxury car sellers said the same thing. They said, look, this is for people, first time buyers, like the fresh off the lot. When these vehicles come right off the lot, it's for those buyers, not for resale of once the vehicle's been used. And because the technology becomes really expensive to repair. So it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Um, and so I'm not really sure the overall cost. Like, what does it cost to do that? To make those vehicles with such features, and then what does that look like overall? Over time, after a span of some time. So with that said, I don't know, man. That's probably why they was like, yeah, let's just see what the competitors do and if it really lasts. Because I mean, Tesla could easily, I mean, it's a refrigerator or adding multiple screens, they could easily do that. So I don't feel like that's a big deal at all. So let's take a look at, I don't see any other news. So let's take a look at the strategy today. Whew, man, that looks crazy. Look at that dip, boy. See, and this is the thing. This is why, I'm really, This is why I'm really skeptical with holding swing trades. Um, See, this is why you have to pay close attention to the news and see any signs for or see signs that could potentially impact the direction of the market. Now, if you look here was Thursday, right? And we kind of retested this level because we retested this level on Wednesday, right? So this is the same level where we within this zone. Okay. So it looks like the stock might move higher. Now, maybe if Elon didn't tweet, you know, about the new political party, maybe we would have continued in this zone. Who knows? We don't know. Um, Maybe this could have been in it this same result because of the potential tariffs, and the fact that China is doesn't look like they're going to agree to terms. So, but we don't know. But if people were holding swings, look at this drop, man. This 312 to 296. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. $16. Oh man, $16. That's crazy. And so if like for example, if at the open we continue heavy, like aggressively, if there's an aggressive sell off, oh my goodness. That's what I'm saying. Like this could just continue to just drop. Even in the pre-market, we could drop. It looks like we're recovering. But man, we got a long way to go. Look at this drop, man. 299. So currently we're at 296. This is where we dropped from. 299. I mean, this is uh at the open where we dropped from 299. We gapped down all the way to 299 and just, now we're just consolidating in this area. And so we'll see what happens in the open. Let me take a look at SPY. And I can get rid of these levels. We're at Okay, so we opened at 622 Thursday, and we retested this zone. So it looks like the market is in good position. Let's check Q's. Yeah. Let's see. We opened at 553. We broke below that. Almost used this as resistance for a little bit here, but then we reclaimed that same price, and yeah, this was resistance. You can see we rejected off this key level here, 554. We came back, same thing in the pre-market, rejected off this key level. Remember, what we're looking for is old highs, old lows to see where buyers and sellers are sitting so we can gauge what direction the market is going to head um, once the market opens. And then, because you never know, but this is what's likely. So it's all about probability. This is just simple math, y'all. It's not gambling. Gambling is when you don't have any odds. Like playing the lottery is gambling. Okay, there's no odds. Now you can't win if you don't play, but the likelihood of you winning is the jackpot. That is, you might win like the small rewards, but winning the jackpot, the odds are stacked against you. Here, you can see like there's a 60% chance based on the strategy like I'm using that I'm winning, since that's why I'm on top or in the profit, because the strategy works and it's consistent. The patterns consistently repeat themselves. So the probability of you executing this setup to the letter, focusing on A plus setups, not jumping into trades just because you feel or believe da 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 da. We don't do that. You jump into a trade based on the analytics, right? The technicals. You do your technical analysis and identify what direction the market is headed, and then you wait for the setup patiently. If the setup doesn't present itself, then you don't enter the trade. Simple as that. You wait for it to present itself, then you enter the trade. Once the trade is entered, you stick to your strategy. Whatever your profit target is and your stop loss limit is, that's what you stick to. If the trade begins to work against you, then you exit at your stop loss limit. You don't sit there within the trade holding your losers. If the trade is winning, then you exit or scale out of the trade at your profit target. So if you only got one contract, obviously that's difficult to scale out. You have to take profit at that first level, at that first target level, or sit through and potentially lose the profits that you earned, and risk being subject to a reversal, a sudden reversal. The gradual reversals, you have enough time to exit, but it's those sudden, based on like some news or something like that, or some institution just deciding to take profits at that particular moment. And then you can have a sudden drop, and that could just wipe you out. So, yeah, with that said, it looks like the markets are in the good position. So, SPY and QQQ, and let's check SMH. This is for the semis. The semis. Come on. I wish there was an easier way to do this. Yep, semi. The ETF for semis is looking good. Yeah, so Tesla's down right now. So let's look at what we're gonna do for Tesla. Okay, so coming until today, here's what I like to see. Um, we got a few key levels here. Actually, let me pull this up just a little bit, because right now we are currently below the previous day low and previous day high. Okay, so this is not even in the picture. We are so far away from this. What I like to see to give me confidence that we will continue toward the upside and not continue heavy is at the open, we reject off of the pre market low, which is 291. If we reject off of this level and we continue market structure, then um, this is not a guarantee, but this is a potential entry because the risk would be low, because the risk is 291.33 off this rejection. So what we would be looking for is, the next or the first down close candle to help us confirm, are we going to continue with the market structure, if this was just a healthy pullback, or are we going to continue toward the downside? So if we reject off of this level, and then we have the first pullback that doesn't continue or make a new low below 291.33, then it's likely we might continue towards the pre-market high. Okay, and what we'd be looking for, right, if we do that, is the reaction off of this key level. So we might initially reject off this key level. There have been times where we rejected heavy off this key level, especially if we had an aggressive push towards that key level. Okay, so what I like to see is that we continue, um, but now we hold this key level here, because look, this is this is where we were, and this is the when you look at the when you look at the wick of this candle here. Remember, This is the pre-market high. So that's what we'd be looking for, is the reaction off of this key level. So this is our pre-market high. And if we reject off that level, that's fine. As long as we don't continue to reject hard off this level and bounce all the way back down to the pre-market low. Because typically, if that happens, then we might continue heavy and break below the pre-market low. Then what we'd be looking for is to check the reaction off of the key level to see if we're going to use this now as resistance for continuation towards the downside. All right. So ideally, an A plus setup for me would be, like I said, we come into the open, reject off this key level, wait for the first down close candle. That will confirm uh, that we might continue towards the upside. The other thing we might do is do like what they call a double bottom. So we might retest this level twice before heading um, to towards the pre-market high. And this is really like really ideal for me because it gives me greater confirmation along with other confluences in terms of like what's the direction that SPY and QQQ are trending in. So if QQQ and SPY are also trending higher, and we reject off this level a second time and continue, buyers are stepping in or showing that they're stepping in, pushing the stock price higher toward the pre-market high, that will give me even greater confidence to enter the trade at this key level here, because my risk would be really, really low. So I'm just risking a break below this key level here. So the other scenario that could happen is we could aggressively push and break above the pre-market high. Then what we'd be looking for ideally is a retest of this key level, the pre-market high 299, right? So if we reject off of this key level, then we'd be waiting for buyers to step in aggressively to push the stock higher. This would be an ideal situation as well, because we didn't start out heavy, um, gradually making our way towards the pre-market low to retest that level. We started out aggressive, pushed the stock high. We came back and retested this zone, this price zone, and buyer steps show that they were stepping in to push the stock price higher. That would be ideal, and I'll be looking for trades. Same thing as the first scenario. The key here is that at either level, we're checking the reaction off of these two key levels and checking to see if buyers are going to step in aggressively and push the stock price higher, along with checking other confluences in terms of like the higher time frames. Are we still in an uptrend? And what is SPY and QQQ doing at that moment? At that current moment. Okay. So as we can see, if we take a look at Tesla on the higher time frames, let's check out let me move this up a little bit. So you can see where we are currently, 295 and change. This is the low for Tuesday last week. Okay. Well, let me pull it up on this. Excuse me. Excuse me. All right, so this is Tuesday's lows, but if we look back to oh man, had to let it out. Ooh, man, I'm allergic to reversals. Yo, so let's see. All right, so let me pull this down a little bit so we can see the more context. All right, so here's where we are. Okay. Oops. Oh man. So in April, this is where we were in April. Okay. When we came into May, we continued to push higher, and we had this aggressive push in May. So we really had a big push in May. Obviously, with the news and so forth, we broke back. Um, we broke beneath um, to man. It keeps coming. Oh man, excuse me. Sorry about that. With news pushed that ended up causing the stock to get pushed or to drop towards the downside. And you can see we retested the zone. Um, we use this pricing zone as support, and then we push the stock price. We the the buyers push the price back up. Okay, but what ended up happening is you can see more news. Ended up pushing the stock price back down again. So look, we're retesting this zone. We're retesting the zone. So initially, this was resistance, right? Look at the zone here. Initially, it was resistance because we tried to break above it several times here, 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 and here. And it took us the one, two, three, four, the fifth try. And you can see like this same pattern repeats itself on all the other time frames. This is the pattern that we look for coming into the market open, right? Is we look for whether price, where our buyers and where our sellers sitting. That's called liquidity. Are the buyers going to push the stock up, or are the sellers going to push the stock down, the stock price down? And so we had resistance. This level was serving as resistance, and so we rejected several times, and then finally buyers stepped in aggressively and pushed the stock up. Okay, but due to news and so forth, sellers ended up pushing the price back down. And so now we're back inside that zone. We haven't broke market structure yet on the higher time frames. We're still making higher lows. So this is a low. You can see the purple candles. This is a low. Okay. This is considered a low. We came back, retested this zone with this low, but we didn't break structure yet. Had we continued below, that would have um, gave further confirmation that we were going to continue toward the downside. But we did reject off this level. Buyers stepped in and pushed the price higher, and now we're coming back and retested this zone. But notice we're still making higher lows. So the lows at the lowest point here of these sessions, we're still higher than the previous sessions, and that's what's key. So as long as we continue to trend in this direction, that's what we're looking for. Okay, so we're still in an uptrend according to the higher time frame. This is the 1 hour chart, and the 4 and daily chart will also look similar. Okay, but that's what we're looking for coming into today. So that's why I said it's difficult to trade toward the downside when the higher time frames are confirming that we're still in an uptrend, which means that buyers could step in at any moment and push the price higher. Okay, so a lot of what we look for is old highs and old lows for these high and low points, these previous high and low points. So we're still looking good, right? So if we go back to the well, let's check out the 4 hour. Let's look at the daily actually. Yeah, so you can see we're still in an uptrend. So we look at these points here where we found the bottom, and we continue to push the stock price higher. So that's what we're looking for. Now, coming back to the 1 minute, as you can see, that's exactly what we're going to be looking for. This is the previous low within the pre-market, and this is excuse me, not the previous. This is the pre-market low, and this is the pre-market high. So these are the pricing zones that we'll be looking to see where buyers and sellers, step in. Are buyers going to push the stock aggressively beyond this point, or are sellers going to step in and push the stock below this point? Oops. mean to do that. So yeah, coming into today, that's what I'll be looking for. So that's my strategy coming into today. I don't have anything else. Oh, I did want to discuss. I did take a trade on Friday. Um, I did take a trade on Friday. I took a loss. I took 3 trades on Friday, I think it was. Let me go back to my history. I meant to discuss this in the beginning, so I just want to coming into the pre-market prep. I want to talk about what I did previously. So I did take a couple of trades. Now, let's see. I ended up losing roughly $260. I'm still up for the week. I didn't get this logged in my journal yet, but as you can see, wait, I should be. I'm just double checking. Yeah, I lost $224. So 224 is like 220 and change. So that basically just wiped out this profit. So I took that trade Thursday. I took a couple of trades um, testing the lower delta cons. So I took 1, 2, 3 trades that day. I had a winner. I was actually, and that's the thing, I was actually up, but I ended up deciding to hold that first trade a little longer than I should have just went ahead and cut it, but it wasn't a big deal. But I ended up losing like, let's see, it was like $300, and that's what sucked because when I let's see, this was I ended up the next trade I ended up making over $300. So the first trade, I was a bit more aggressive, and that's what I said. Sometimes you just gotta be patient. But I'm playing with lower delta contract. This is with my real money, but I was trading lower delta cons, 0.20. So they're much cheaper. And what tends to happen is when the momentum builds, then you could make a lot of money. It could grow like exponentially, or you know if the trade is working against you and there's momentum, then you can start to lose a little bit more money, like I did Thursday. So typically it would be around like a $60 or $100, but this one was a little bit over 200 because there was some aggressive down close candles. Seller stepped in aggressively, and I was in the trade, and by the time I looked to get out, I had already suffered the loss. So but yeah. But yeah, I did take a couple of trades. So coming until today, like I said, I'll be trading with my mentor live. So I'm gonna look to take look at the trades that he's eyeing for good A+ setups, and I'll look to take those trades. I've tested. I'm going to continue to test these lower delta contracts, but my primary focus will be getting back to, studying what my mentor strategy, trading with him in real time, and studying those trades, reflecting on those trades after we close or end the session. So that's what my primary focus will be. Secondary, I'll be hopefully I can enter those lower delta contracts on the paper side and still log that data and be able to discuss that in my trade recaps as well. So that's it for me. It's your man Ace. I'm dropping the mic right here till next video. If you found value in this, like and subscribe and follow for more. All right, it's your man Ace. I'm out.